Hi, Hanky Pysanky here. We are trying something slightly new with a dragon egg here. Now, normally I work on emu eggs because they have really nice texture. Now, I ran out of emu eggs and I had some Rhea eggs. So I decided to actually put color on the Rhea egg first. I'm trying something different, which is blue. It got a little bit mottled. And then I'm going to do some iridescent pearlescent ink to give it more that kind of jewel-like sheen that I've really been enjoying with some of the dragon eggs lately. And now usually I stipple it on with a brush. Now that's actually very slow and laborious, and then I have to do each scale individually basically. So I'm still going to do that. I'm still going to stipple on with a brush for the highlights. But here for low lights and for kind of the base color, or the darker color, right? So this is going to be the darker pearlescent color. I'm just going to kind of dab it on with a makeup sponge. And it's mostly not getting into the cut lines. Now, anything that gets into the cut lines, I'm just going to be scraping off with a toothpick once I'm done. Yes, that takes a while. But all of this takes a while. Now, the disadvantage of using the makeup sponge is that it's more uniform, so it's a little bit less irregular. It doesn't get quite the unique scale by scale feeling. Now I am still going to do that for the highlights, so that'll still happen. And this is one time where this sort of basic craft lathe comes in really, really handy, because of course the ink takes a little while to dry, and you don't want to work on parts that are still wet and smear them and smudge them. So this way I can do most of it, and then after this is dry, then I'll take it off and do the end pieces. But I'll do all of the work on the middle first, and then the end pieces last. You of course don't want to do the end pieces first and then put it in a lathe and kind of ruin it, because then it might smudge and smear before it has a coat of varnish on it. Now this doesn't have any varnish on it at all yet, because I want the pearlescent inks to stick really well. This is the only one I have of this particular brand, but it's the deepest blue that I have. I also have, I've been really liking the Daler Rowney pearlescent. They give a really, really nice shimmer, even before adding a gloss varnish. So I did another one in purples that looks like a mermaid tail. It's amazing. Okay. And the trick with these is that you do have to shake them up really, really, really good, because they settle out pretty fast. And all the pearlescent stuff, you know, you want that. And a couple clearings, dribble a little in there, in my palette. So the nice part about the makeup sponge is that it goes on a lot faster. The downside is that you can see sometimes it's just a little too heavy. There's just a little too much, and it goes down into the crevices, into the etched spaces. And that means that I have to clean it out later, which is fine. But I'm definitely going to do all of the inks before I start cleaning up the oopses. Otherwise, I could spend 3 days just cleaning cracks, literally. Oops, I'm going through this pretty heavy. So if I'm going to use inks, and this is a relatively new thing for me, using the inks. If I'm going to use inks, there's going to be at least 2 colors, a dark and a light, because I'm going to use them to do a little bit of shading and gradation. So the dark one I can kind of do all over, right? And then the light one I'm going to have to stipple in right on the tips of each scale. Also, this does help cover up the weirdness and irregularity of the die. I had a little oops halfway through waxing on the scales and had to redo the die so there was a very distinct line of, oh, it's much darker there, and it's much lighter here. So this will help kind of even that out a little bit. See, it's soaking through. I probably should have been using the heavier side. Lost a little bit there. There we go. There's step one.